Final Voice TV. This is Final Voice TV. Your bound chain and there's a new bedin komo. Alhaji Dr. Mamadou Bawumia eta kan sembi. And sama mama Alhaji Bawumia kam yana ye nokre. Oye professional. Oye academic. Wadwene ho akwa akire. Ahwe hu se de papa ne kan nokra na. He keeps saying himself, ex-President Mahama any a single policy throughout his 30 years in politics in Ghana. Could this be true? Sir, Vice President Mamadou Bawumia Ebeka say, Mampanyini Mahama, Mampanyini Dada Mahama, any policy biaka. If you ask him to quote or cite a policy, Mampanyini Mahama enye binka. I mean, can this story be true? Consistently, Otaba, instead of them telling Ghanaians what they can do or what they've done, no, they keep referring to the past. Or President Mahama say, "Kadiya waye my policy biya." How? Until name bound chain. I'm coming to you. Teach me something. And let me also tell you what I know. If you have insult, you can bring the insult out. I don't care. But some of us have love for the country called Ghana. Because that is our country. Only free. To say you walk to home. Say near Quantum. You're Ghanaians. And we have to stand up for Ghana. Tie mumien tie mampanyini anase Alhaji Bawumia. Alhaji Bawumia insema waka ne binie. Let me play some audios to you. Nawa ti o. Ebene ase dia kra. This is the statement I'm referring to. Atie for NTA. Vice President of Ghana.
I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one, not two. Not two, one policy that you can say, hey, as for this one, John Mahama did it.
It is doomed so.
One.
It is doomed so.
He has not yet answered it. And he cannot answer it. So if Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one, not two. Not two, one policy that you can say, hey, as for this one, John Mahama did it.
It is doomed so.
One.
It is doomed so.
He has not yet answered it.
This tells you where we are out. This will inform you why Ghana is at crossroads. If a vice president can question a former leader of a nation, say, tell me a policy that you brought in your entire life as a politician. Name one policy. This is so wrong. It's goofus. The VIP goofed up big time. Because, so, oh yeah, academic, and as you're a professional person, and now you're a politician, you know that this is politically incorrect. This is socially incorrect. And this is economically incorrect for a whole vice president to ask a former president or a leader of a nation, say, name one policy that you brought, or we can tag you with in your 30 years of political life. That's wrong, because some Mampanyini, Vice President Bawumia, and Eka said, yeah, and yet a daddy preferred the entire Ghana ye bre. The entire FN Ghana echo IMF ni bechro. The entire $1 to see the no arise no bechro, because the person speaking, no, this man is Ghana's vice president. And he's asking your former President Mahama to name a policy. How can you say this? Where do we formulate policies? And what is a policy? So, person Otienka, now share videos. You can visit YouTube, Final Voice TV, and answer Meet Charles Show. Meet Charles Show, and answer Final Voice TV. You can see many videos that you've done about Africa, Ghana, and the world. We are not here to insult the person of Alhaji Mamadou Bawumia. He is a public officer. He's Ghana's vice president. When he speaks, we need to take time and interrogate. Interrogation, no, and I say investigation, no. But me, I say the work, no. About more Ghana, and I say more Ghana. When a vice president of a nation quizzes or asks, say, Yakubu's a former leader and I present someone for policy, I think say he got it wrong. And we need to be bold for once and tell the vice president to stop asking such a question, because a disgrace. Because so definition of policy from the academic perspective. What dictionary, Oxford Dictionary or Cambridge? Let's know what Oxford said about policy. Or say policy is a plan of action agreed or chosen by a political party or a business, etc. This is Oxford. Bronina or no or kind of casano or says a policy, a plan of action agreed or chosen by a political party or a business a party or chosen by a political party, a business, etc. This is Oxford Dictionary. Then a Cambridge Eka. Cambridge Dictionary say policy is a set of ideas or a plan of what to do in a particular situation that has been agreed to officially. It has been agreed to officially by a group of people, a business organization, a government, or a political party. Cambridge Dictionary say, a policy, a set of ideas, a plan of what to do in a particular situation that has been agreed to officially by a group of people, a business organization, a government, or a political party. Into Mampanyini Mahama, obey assemblyman, as you people used to say. Obey deputy minister, obey minister, obey vice president, obey substantive president. No, one the party as NDC that he led as a vice president or substantive leader, and as a Ghana's president. No, the man called John Mahama. No, one for idea and as a plan biama as to what to do in a particular situation. What are you doing? The man goes around disgracing Ghana, because this is a disgrace. To ask or to say your fellow politician ruled Ghana for 8 years and there was no policy. Wasn't there any plan or any action agreed or chosen by the NDC party? Now, let's go to Wikipedia. I said policy is a deliberate system of guidelines to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. I take it again. The policy is a deliberate system of guidelines to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. A policy is a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. Wikipedia. A policy is a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. Policies are generally adopted by a governance body within an organization. To Mahama, obey assemblyman, as you people used to say, obey assemblyman, obey deputy minister, obey substantive minister, obey vice president, and obey main, and as I obey president. Ne party or dear ni mono. Party no obey vice president no. Party no or joining as a minister, whether deputy or main minister no. Wasn't there any policy or plan from that party for Ghanaians? Let's go to Google. Google say, I'm giving you about 3 definitions of, and now 4 definitions from Google. So only dictionary. Now to me, Enkoto dictionary. Just go to Google. Take your phone or your device. Google, what is a policy? Or policy meaning. Policy means what? Whether it's economic policy or social policy or environmental policy, it seeks to do something. What does Google say? So policy is a law, regulation, procedure, administrative action, incentive, or voluntary practice of government and other institutions. Wasn't there any policy when he was a deputy minister? I mean, by his party or government? Wasn't there any policy by the NDC administration in the 90s? And when he became a vice president? Wasn't there any regulation? I will show you some. You will inform Ghanaians, say, Asema Vice President Mahama Bawumia attack wrong. Consistently, a goof. And somebody must correct our vice president. In special aid, MPP elders, academics within MPP should sit our vice president down and tell the man, say, Papa, and somebody said, you can't wait you. Because you know, as a policy could be a regulation or a law or a procedure or an administrative action, incentive or voluntary practice of government. So if President Mahama belongs to the NDC, or he has been with the NDC for about 30 years, hasn't there been any regulation or action by the NDC party? Another definition by Google, or say policy is official policy. Excuse me. Official policy means a rule or regulation promulgated, adopted, or ratified by defendant name of a local governing body. Situate and also put a political party in this context. So if a regulation is promulgated by NDC, say JJ Bresu, say Tama, no Nyata Mills, LED NDC, wasn't there any regulation that was promulgated? Wasn't there any regulation that was adopted? Wasn't there any plan or idea that was adopted by the NDC as a social contract and as a plan for Ghanaians? And Mebusao. Another definition by Google, or say policy is a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by a government, party, business, or individual. Just a man President Mahama could not parliament the country dum so Hagana for or no jetum so dum so say man for Noma dum so Hagana for, and he will fix it. But someone said he was able to fix it. Dear Anamono too far home. It's becoming one too many, and we have to correct the vice president. This is so wrong. Because if a policy really means a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by a government, party, business, or an individual there, and a vice president, Bawumia waiting. Unless you're coming from a different angle. But I'm saying, say, whether it's academic definition or professional definition, the vice president can't be right. He couldn't be right on this score. Last definition by Google. So policy is prudent, it's a prudent or expedient conduct or action. In the NDC, even let's take it said when he was a vice president and also Obeye, leader of NDC as a president. Wasn't there any prudent or expedient action or conduct by him or by the NDC party which he, John Mahama led? So on this score too, he is wrong. Mahama about 6 or 7 definitions, whether from Wikipedia or from Oxford or from Cambridge Dictionary or from Google. None of them justify say Vice President Bawumia is correct. None of them. So, a policy, say you're wrong or bad, and it is another thing to discuss. But policy in its context, and can be actual, may define actual. So the vice president couldn't be right. And Ghanaians must be bold to tell the man to stop this thing, just as he goofed about the dollar cedi. So what's a dollar? And the who care come IGP no, and the Busan said the same. So the case fundamentals of an economy no, and the who said no me no, which he was right economically no, and the Busan said fundamentals at the same. Ghana's economic fundamentals at the same. So see as now person follow discussions you can visit YouTube. There's a channel called Final Voice TV. And you can also see me on Meet Charles Show. Channels or the idea. So whether you follow Final Voice TV or Meet Charles Show on YouTube, you can see some of these discussions. And I say what we have done so far when it comes to Africa, the world, and Ghana. We have some nice videos on these channels, and you can visit us or visit these channels and subscribe. Just subscribe to these channels and you will see some of our videos. Let's take a note here. And the note that we have to take is that, and also we have to note and say, a good public policy seeks to define issues and implement strategies that will produce measurable and positive results for the general public. I take it again. A good public policy seeks to define issues and implement strategies that will produce measurable and positive results for the general public. Yemusi say, Mampanyini Mahama, in his 30 years of politics, no, whether the days of Jerry John Rawlings, and now say Obey vice president, and also no ye assemblyman or Balo Bamboino. So wanya dia na ye in the interest of the public, and I say na a positive impact for the public. We will talk about some of these things. I'm saying it's about time we corrected our vice president. Because you cannot say you've questioned John Mahama. He was a whole politician like you. He remains a politician. He was a vice president. He was assemblyman, blah, 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 as some Ghanaians used to say. Indeed, if he was an assemblyman and he became a deputy minister and later became a substantive minister, he became a vice president and became Ghana's president. And Yehona also said no. His party at least came out with a manifesto. What is a manifesto? If you don't agree with me, with definition from Oxford, Cambridge, Wikipedia, any Google, let's even go in for what is a manifesto. What is a manifesto? A manifesto is a public declaration of policy or aims. A manifesto is a public declaration of policy and aims, especially one issued before an election by a political party or a candidate. On this score, Vice President Mamadou Bawumia is wrong again. Saying this here political party or the manifesto about Bontain before elections. Saying this here political party or more in the power, there is something called cabinet meeting where they decide or talk about Ghana. The one way or the other, there has been some regulations or plans or ideas, good decisions. Na Mahama Tiobi. Na Biana Mahama vice president. And I said Biana Mahama was even the president at that meeting. So you cannot ask a question like that in public. Say, you go to John Mahama say, in his 30 years of political life, you know, what the policy one po Abragana for. That is wrong. The vice president goofed. Let's correct our vice president on these things. Wow, okay, Mr. Sia won't the no. Vice President Mamadou Bawumia Kasembi. Na some okay no. Begini say was say it me correct no. Na aya 1, aya 2. Aya no, aya kon anase what aya kon aya no. But what is here? Or a politician, he wants power, he wants to lead Ghanaians. That is his own take. I'm not here for the person of Alhaji Mamadou Bawumia. No. But a public servant. This is what Sama we have to interrogate. And see said the worker no about what Ghana, and I say no cray. And I say go for Edmugwasia Emre Ghana na. What am I arguing on this call? Tie, Vice President.
I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life.
My goodness, goodness me. You are asking somebody who sat at a cabinet meeting. You are asking the former vice president who occupied the same position like you are. Ghana's former president said, can we tag you or associate a policy with you? Then it means you don't know what policy means, and that is why Ghana is where we are now. Now, if you're a viewer, let's go into some of the things and see, say, President Mahama in his political career, can we cite a single policy? No, you're vice president. No, you're president. And you know, his party no can whether as a minister or deputy minister, no. Where there's some policies like that, but they can't catch us say a manifesto. So oko UPS so oko Gamepao, oko Oxford University, oko Harvard University or Yale University, Göttingen University or I don't know, Freiburg University or Hamburg University. A manifesto definition and vary. You cannot have various and also many definitions for manifesto. Manifesto of from a party simply means it's a public declaration of policy or aims, especially one issued before election by a political party or a candidate. Has John Dramani Mahama ever been a candidate? Was he once a candidate? If he was a candidate, then you can ask him, say, do you have a single policy? It means you have not taken time to read a manifesto of the NDC. It means you as a Ghanaian you have not dared to follow the NDC in terms of their public declaration and also their goals and also decisions, regulations, and also plans for Ghana. Indeed, if you have done that, can we cite a policy that is coming from you or your party, or you as a candidate of a party? The vice president was wrong. Consistently he's been wrong. And nobody seems to correct him because, hey, they will release them to come after you. Yeah, you know them. They will release these people to come after you. But it's about time. We informed our vice president, said some of these statements do not click. And you can ask a former vice president, a former and ex-president of Ghana. So was rising through the ranks from assemblyman to deputy minister or substantive minister. And some was waiting. Because one way or the other, he was at a cabinet meeting. Formulating idea be and a decision be and a policy be. Like I said, do we have evidence for some of these things? I'll read some to you as a Ghanaian. And you yourself will decide. You'll be informed. They say, some papa ne can. Does he even need an answer from John Dramani Mahama? And who is there to correct him? A public declaration, a policy, and that's an aim by a candidate. And a mama culture will say education is accessible. Education must be accessible. It should be affordable. It should be quality. This is John Dramani Mahama speaking from the People's Manifesto. But they can't define what a manifesto mean or could mean. And if you go by that definition as an be in politics and also academic or professional, then John Dramani Mahama was once a candidate, or he has always belonged to a party, as the vice president is saying. And on that score, on far manifesto Maya, and within that manifesto, so for education, or say we need to make sure so education must be accessible, must be affordable, must be quality. This is what John Dramani Mahama said, or has been saying over the years. Into do no more with this party and this no. Whether he was a deputy minister or a minister or a vice president or Ghana's president, to be about education. Wasn't there any plan or policy or decision? A specific and relevant decision applicable to the target audience? Well, if there is something like that, then tell Vice President Bawumia that he was wrong. Because we are aware, some man Mahama the policy by. We are aware, say, or catch the Ghana for you, so why yet day students, more senior high school, ye day, free. And then your policy. Many Ghanaians didn't follow. They didn't read. That pay because John Dramani Mahama and they say who a day student, that's who senior high school, free. That was a policy. Say you're free senior high school and Krenyanako school, which is not a novelty, because that is a policy in Ghana's constitution. And he also said day students, the whole Ghana, day students, enco school free. Are you aware? Yes, our policy will and this is free power. Napo, ebedi Professor Jane Nanatem. It was this day students in Uncle school free, no. So our policy way. Because Mahama believe say. So I buy assemblyman pen, or buy deputy minister pen, or buy substantive minister pen, or buy vice president pen there. And yeah, at a point in time, you know, so Ghana and Jessica, and yet the whole country free senior high school now. As the constitution wants now, or as it was enshrined in the constitution now. And the day students in Enco school free, and that was a policy. John Mahama, and a policy on critical infrastructure. A policy on critical infrastructure, and say you see schools and you know the E-blocks buildings. That is a policy. You can have a policy on critical infrastructure. And I wouldn't say much about education when it comes to policy. Huh? And then John Mahama, whether he was a minister or deputy or vice president or president, no, say 10,000 made in Ghana school sandals mankra. Said they also with the free senior high school aba eba boa wo no. Also who say encrabbing ponya sandals in Shenko school. And to motivate these children and other families, no, young sandals no man from your school and then your policy. And your idea, and your plan. Maybe so, and your biana, and your action agreed or chosen by party and which he was part. So, Busa Mahama son for policy by Kumra. A mistake, a error, you erred, Vice President, and somebody must correct you. The people around you, the so-called academics, the professionals, the economists, they should correct you on this one. I'm not here to list achievements and answer actions and answer things the NDC agreed on when Mahama was a vice president or president of Ghana. There are many. And then Mahama said, University of Ghana, Legon, or may here a place for those doing medicine to go for practicals. And TNC 617 bed teaching hospital. Homepod or the Boba Kukum, you know. See, I find a sad or the one policy or the one idea, one plan. They achieve two things. One, to build a place for students to go for training, and where the general public can access healthcare and a delivery. And your policy, whether he was a vice president or a president, whether he was a minister or a deputy minister, it was his party. One way or the other, he was at cabinet meeting, and that is where some of these things are formulated. A policy can even be taken at the constituency level. A policy by a government can even be taken at the constituency level. And if you come back today asking us, saying Kobusa Mahama, and now you have been asking John Mahama, are you goofus? Are you wrong? You erred. You erred. You erred big time.
I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one.
Vice President Bawumia, you are wrong on this call. Yenti another MPP man. This is another recent audio. They go on air and insult someone because they think the person doesn't deserve to become a leader of Ghana. They take the pride, the impudence to insult someone. They have the guts to insult someone, excuse me, because they think, say, they own Ghana. What they say should be binding. And what you and I will say, no, here. That is the spirit of some people in Ghana. Say, Omudi don't be canon a final and a binding. I didn't want a tassum. A former MP. Or Kasa our radio so. Take note, a former MP or Kasa our radio so about a former leader of Ghana. Honestly, egu fuisa. Honestly, you mistake. And I want to inform my brother Obi. Sir, I don't
Former
own,
President Mahama Bar Origin Central.
I don't own copyright to this audio. Many copyright for this. I'm just using it for purposes of fair use. Please, let Obi, my brother, be aware of that. And that's Sempa FM. Obi asking a former MP. I think he I don't know. If I say
Na Mahama.name follow na makunya de.
Na say more prepare. You know, say elections now, more prepare Akwana. Former President Mahama.
This man is called Mr. Benjamin Aye. Let me show you that respect. Let me add Mr. to your name. Mr. Benjamin Aye. He is a former MP of Upper Dangerous West. Upper Dangerous West, former MP. And I'll call radio show. And he has been going. He has been going on radio. And this man goes on radio and talks a lot about John Mahama. Forgetting, say, they have a social contract with Ghanaians, which they have to fulfill. Tiasama Obi Busa Papano. Like I said earlier, many copyright to this video.
Bar Origin Central Region na ufolo no.
Na Mahama.name follow na makunya de.
Na say more prepare. You know, say elections now, more prepare Akwana. 2024.
Na you prepare ako elections. Until Liverpool asan na omni denchama United ebeba just omko training. Same people asan nyomanye. Ni Mahama, President Mahama. And eko contest on the number bia ni ensan ko follow no. Na wan kasa why media person who follow no.
Oh sure.
To make match me policy issue back on our issue.
Oh, they say we need internal party election.
The internal idea you call Ngongo.
So Sanomano. Into your MPP youth. Now so you're very ignorant. Well, you go and sit on radio and say, Papa no so one mo kan. E don't call politics, or by assemblyman, or by a deputy minister, or by a minister, or by a vice president. You must say, dear police no diaba. I think from today you are being corrected. I'm not here to speak for anyone. And even in some make a samo be crana may justify the entire may so much. So you're a politician, not John Mahama, so you're a politician. And what you can't question him, say, or by a vice president and also by Ghana's president. You know, wasn't there any policy or agreed plan and I say action? You're wrong. A whole former MP of Upper Dangerous speaks this way, and they won't. For them, they think it's okay. For them, they think it's okay. Now, who can be there? Unya wo meaning Ghanaian. So, who can be? Whether you are in Ashanti or Achem speaking, whether you are a Votarian or whether you are from the northern part of Ghana, whether you are a Krobo. Oh, they can be okay, but Omodi Omoka, and you're okay to go. A whole former Upper Dangerous MP. Obi Busana some kitwebi. Obi Busana some kitwebi.
Former President Mahama Bar or region, central region, or na follow no.
Na Mahama de me follow na makunya de.
Na sir, more prepare, you know, say elections now, more prepare akwana. 2024.
Now you prepare akwa elections. Until Liverpool asan na omni denchama United ebeba just omko training. Same people asan nyomanye ni Mahama, President Mahama, and the eco contest. Or the number be an Akufo follow no. Now one kasa why media president who follow no.
Oh sure.
Sa part when you hear me. This part or young people ni no kasa. You can't take it from him. He wasn't there to defend NDC. But tie some obeka. You was united obeka necessary.
To make match me policy issue back wa kan wasem.
Oh, they say we need internal party election.
Internal idea you kwa ngongo shia delegates no dem we. Manye ni Mahama, President Mahama, and the eco contest. Or the number be an Akufo follow no. Now one kasa why media president who follow no.
Oh sure.
To make match me policy issue back wa kan wasem.
Oh, they say we need internal party election.
Internal idea you kwa ngongo shia delegates no dem we. Koja bontinya o kasa ma ewiase nyina etie ni die. Na ka wo kan sem bia ze betumi aka say yes. Kakra mati afa ne hu die. Some of the show anybody who kra beka say a key so concert party for na. Oh, stage ni bi am hu no so no. Initially a man for the video ni bem na me ni say ono no way. So ante say do bi am so no so e kasa.
What's then? What's then?
A former MP speaking this way. A former MP, what they will say they are right, but you and I, we can speak. Bia Ghana, Yatwa Bamano. He was part of Parliament, the microcosm of Ghana. Parliament in United Ghana. Any part, sir, and it's any part 275, no. Omo mining in a microcosm. Microcosm. Bakunio, the deep former President Mahama.name. And say Mahama.name policy. Once again, what is wrong? And the person assemblyman, obey a deputy minister, obey a substantive minister, obey a vice president, obey a Ghana's president, and who becomes a policy, Ben or the buy. And that's one name one policy. Meanwhile, the person comes out with a manifesto before elections. Mahama, whether he is a member or a candidate of NDC, the party always comes out with a manifesto. So why do you question? So Uncle for policy, Mara? The manifesto is there for you to check. Because manifesto simply means a public declaration of policy or aims, especially one issued before an election by a political party or a candidate. Was Mahama once a candidate? Does he belong to a political party? So why do you ask for a policy? If the party comes out with manifesto, you started a fourth republic, you know. So the manifesto bad yeah. That's why you no your assemblyman, no your vice president, no your minister, or your deputy minister. Why do you ask? There is a manifesto for you to read. And indeed, as the NDC is preparing to meet the MPP in the next elections, no, then this will come out with a manifesto. And within that manifesto, you will see several policies. Agreed action, and that's a plan, our part in the war. So why do you question some of our policy, and that's one single policy? You have a whole minister. First was Vice President Bawumia.
I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one, not two. Not two, one policy that you can say, hey, as for this one.
You can have a policy on critical infrastructure. If you just have some plans or agreed upon action that seeks to call for critical infrastructure, that is policy. In teaching hospitals, regional hospitals, and this is a policy. You need a policy to create skills development fund for schools. You need a policy to create such a fund for vocational schools. TVET and NASEFO. So, sir, you need a policy to call for Oniado or say Momian for health and Pia Nipano. Primary health care. Primary health care, no. Yamani main nipa. So, nipa didn't mean hospital crown book, that's what you fear. In their communities, in their rural areas, in their small zone, no. Momian for health delivery and health care. And may omu. To kofa Oniado by that time, na Mahama. So no ye assemblyman, no ye vice president, so no ye minister, so ye deputy minister. That was a policy. I'm not here to read NDC's manifesto or plan or whatever but it's sickening. It's so wrong. Busansa Ghana, our housing deficit. Busansa Ghana, our housing deficit. So Ghana, our housing deficit. Busansa Mahama be a assemblyman, or be a deputy minister, or be a minister, or be a vice president, or be a Ghana's president, no, into one like on the party. Whether he was a cabinet minister or vice president, wasn't there any policy about housing? You know many. Affordable housing. Seglemi housing project. It was a policy. It came out of a policy. Agreed plan or action. A decision in the interest of Ghanaians to favor the public. That was a policy. Courtesy Defense Resettlement Housing Scheme. A policy. Because a buanko fobu or Ghana. Adenta regeneration projects na a policy. It was to solve Ghana's housing deficit. Nyamidria Estate. Housing policy. It's affordable housing. The Mampainiko for cry, no, and this came to continue. Undimukrano. Mr. Emisata, Eka said the NDC has taken interest to continue that project, Mampainiko project about housing, no? Because housing, and here, wasn't that an idea or agreed action of which Mahama was part? Almost see dime policy for. Like the MPP has done at Dobe Kobenya. So Nansenya Mampani Akufo-Addo called Dobe Kobenya ko be police barracks no. Hey, oh my sikana de ya nie. Sika mo ya di no de ya nie. Just police barracks oh Dobe Kobenya no. Obia emetie de maya with Ghana's money. But the same project no and this by Sibu cantonment. Police housing project at cantonment. If you go to cantonment, it's what? Nanya policy to help the police, the people who provide security for Ghanaians. So when you come out to say oh Busaman Panini Mahama, a single policy, it's wrong. You add VIP, you add, and the people around you. It's about time they informed you. Say this statement is also wrong. Just as you said, so you have arrested Ghana City and giving the keys to the IGP. And your policy about energy and that's energy policy. And the Mama Mahama, whether he was a vice president or Ghana's president, at the Ameri power plant Baba Ghana, car power badge, pond thermal plant. I mean, a policy now here to do power purchasing agreement. Because the agreement is to come to help the general public. It's an idea, it's a plan. It's a procedure. It's an action. It's an incentive. And so your power purchasing agreement at cabinet meeting of which Mahama was part, either as a minister or a deputy minister, and as a vice president, it was to help Ghanaians. You need a policy on energy. And your policy maybe. And remember Mahama, the party or womb, son or your assemblyman. And also your deputy minister. And also your substantive minister. And now by a vice president. And also by a Ghana's president. And yet the policy maybe. And I'm like I said, almost 681,000 tons of fertilizer. And make for. So Ghana ya agreko mine agreki here Ghana. It took that man to say, mommy ain't fertilizer free milk for cocoa for. A policy on agriculture. I mean, you can't take it away from the party that he belongs to. On that score too, I think we have to check it because the vice president has erred, and somebody must correct our vice president. I'm not here to attack the person of the vice president, but or a public servant or a Ghana's vice president into Okasa. It means interrogating who said the Okano. And no cre. Na eba Ghana. And now say no cre. How do we correct him? To boost tourism. And a man Mahama, the party belonging to. So yeah, minister, so no yeah deputy minister, no yeah vice president, and also be a president. To boost tourism, look, I think I see Ratri Park. Ratri Park, excuse me. Ratri Park, oh Kumasi. An amusement park, oh Kumasi. Then your policy to boost tourism industry. Marine Drive Tourism Investment Plan, Accra Central, Marine Drive, no, then policy to boost tourism. It goes on and on and on. Okay, some say, hey! To them, they have the right to speak and question other Ghanaians, but you can't question them. That is what I don't get it. They think they can correct you, but you cannot correct them. Your policy and I'm here to create jobs. Just as the MPP is saying, so one district, one factory, no? I'm the stimulus, I'm factories. Yes. One district, one factory, one DF. 1D, 1F, 1D, 1F, no? So are you successful? Say you're successful. No more here policy to create that. It was an action. It's an incentive. A voluntary practice. So say your procedure. Say your regulation. Say your plan. Say your idea. Say your decision by a party. 1D, 1F. Among my companies be stimulus. Do you believe in that? Say, and only a policy. Bibusao, do you believe in that? Say, and only a policy. There's another policy there. And your party, John Mahama, can on a car say, let's go and revive Kumasi Shoe Factory to create jobs. And your party, Mahama, Kahon, John Mahama, Kahon, a car say, Mumiama Tobinko, and no Mumian Ro Ghana Sika. Like you have done in the 1D, 1F policy. The same stimulus. The same thing. Funding. Let's fund Ghana's pharmaceutical companies. They did it. Then this did it. The same thing and the MPP so 1D 1F to help boost the private sector. A policy to create jobs. Intinoka said, let's go and do Savannah Cement Factory so that we can produce cement in Ghana and create jobs for people. Oh, Bope in northern part of Ghana or the Savannah region. Whether Mahama was a minister or deputy minister or vice president or president, that is what his party did, or that is what he as a candidate told Ghanaians. Graduate Business Support Scheme. You need a policy. A party or a candidate need that idea, that plan, that vision to establish the idea. Whether it's voluntary, to establish graduate business scheme was a policy. Youth in agriculture since the days of Rollins. Now Mahama ya assemblyman no ya deputy minister or minister. There was a policy called Youth in Agriculture. The days of Mahama Mills administration, there was a policy called Youth in Agriculture. And a policy in Libya to create jobs for the youth. Rural enterprise projects, and a policy to help people. Just as the MPP has something called LEAP, LEAP, livelihood empowerment, blah blah. Similar. Tian Koye MPP, Koye Mahama in the party, he should come out and name one policy. You are wrong, Mr. Vice President. A policy now here about the youth, thinking about the future of the youth, and also when your idea, also when your plan, incentive, voluntary practice, a procedure to name something called Youth Entrepreneurial Agency. YEA, Youth Entrepreneurial Agency. Name your policy in Libya to help Ghanaian youth. Like some of the NAPCO, MPP, some of the NAPCO Abba. You need people like Bawumia to think through. You need people like Akufo-Addo to think through. So no, let's help Ghanaian youth. And Tiefa NAPCO, and this is also brought YEA. Any graduate business support scheme, youth in agriculture. I know Mahama wasn't part of NDC then. Commander sugar factory. Say young creator Jumama for Benye. At least there was an intention to go and establish sugar factory at Commander. There was an idea, a plan. Something prudent, expedient. Say Ghana boka sugar crown. Or man Ghana crash sugar. Whilst we can manufacture sugar in Ghana, because sugar nobody here already and now any other raw material. So let's establish a factory at Commander. Now a policy to cut off that excess expenditure. That excesses when it comes to Ghana's expenditure. Now a policy. Economic policy. When put you're economic expert. No ways about that. No two ways about that. I said, Gwagisberg, Haba Messi and Ache, and I said, sir, Mampany Kwame Nkrumah Haba, Senator Man Ache, and I said, sir, Mumium. So there was a harbor expansion project. Wasn't that a policy too? Wasn't that an idea, something prudent, expedient to help Ghanaians? To help Ghanaians or Ghana? We can go on and on and on and on. Somebody must inform or correct our vice president. Somebody must tell Mr. Dominic Ayer, former Upper Denchira MP or former MP for Upper Denchira. Sir, Mahama name one policy. Mahama nkoka policy back oh yeah ehwedonko Mahama beye assemblyman vice president we was say be die kunya so na nyina hu hia. It's rubbish. Excuse my language. You need a policy as a social contract between a party and the people of Ghana. And anytime NDC comes out with a manifesto, you at least, within the manifesto, no, you will see a policy talking about finance and economy, like micro fiscal policies. You must say, NDC buy no many micro and macro fiscal policies, which Yara said was always in Parliament talking about some of these policies. The Heritage Fund, the Sinking Fund, the Blah Fund. You need an idea, a plan, something prudent, whether voluntary or whatever, to create that. Now, President Mahama, no, onye cabinet minister, and that's not onye vice president. Wasn't under Mahama that secretary did that, or the party that he was leading came out with those ideas or policies? Let's interrogate this comment from the vice president. That anytime he says, Mahama.name one policy, no, what you say? Mahama anko kase yenko ye gold for oil. Mahama kase yenye a Japan deal into 25 policy mai. How? Monetary policies, baby. No, go and pick NDC's manifesto. The People's Manifesto, the recent one, the immediate past election manifesto, no, and go to page 21, page 27, page 30, page 31. I mean, just go through the whole document. So here's all your policy, Oma. So if Mahama was the candidate, if Mahama was a minister or vice president, wasn't he the one that was bringing out that manifesto? And what is a manifesto? A public declaration of policy or aims, especially one issued before elections by a political party or a candidate. The vice president of Ghana couldn't be right when he said, President Mahama should name one policy, or he has been questioning Mahama. I have been questioning Mahama, say, or name one policy or the other. He has been wrong consistently. And somebody must correct the vice president. This is Final Voice TV. Opesa who you do media and answer your discussions. You're discussing about Ghana, Africa, and in the world. Our focus is not on MPP and NDC alone. Our focus is about Ghana, West Africa, Africa, and the world. And if you go on YouTube, you can see many of our videos. I talk about Ghana. I talk about West Africa and Africa. I talk about the world. To not yanka, Mampanyini, Mama do Bawumia statement obekaye about Mampanyini Mahama no. And a year interrogating. And a year analysis and who said okay no, is he right? Is he correct? And we disagree with Ghana's vice president on what he said. And we have spoken our mind, like we have given you that analysis that you need. We've given you that evidence, probably not all. But kakra kan numpono, you know, say Mahama, Vice President Bawumia wasn't right. And he has never been right anytime he comes out to say Mahama should name a policy or the other. And we believe so that the people around him, the good people around the vice president can correct, can inform him, say, Your statements out kind of bontino and you're wrong. Politically wrong. Economically wrong. Socially wrong. TBM do okay and sana mejao kramwako.
I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one, not two. Not two, one policy that you can say.
And people were cheering him up. That is my concern. People were clapping and cheering him up. So many CPP say MP before they are Ghanaians, and they are cheering the vice president up, clapping, as if everything is all right. He's okay. He's politically correct, economically and socially correct. To say name one policy.
Hey, as for this one, ask John Mahama one question. I asked John Mahama one question, and he has not yet answered it. So if I asked him just one question, I said, John Mahama, you have been assemblyman, you have been deputy minister, you have been minister, you have been vice president, you have been president over the last 30 years. So tell us one policy we can associate with you after 30 years of political life. Just one, not two. Not two, one policy that you can say, hey, as for this one, John Mahama did it.
It is done so.
One.
It is done so.
He has
Former
not
President
yet answered
Mahama or region, central region, na ufolo no.
Na Mahama de me follow na makunya de.
Na sir, more prepare, you know, say elections now, more prepare ako na 2024.
Na you prepare ako elections. Into Liverpool asan na omni denchama United ebeba just omko training. Same people asan nyomanye ni Mahama, President Mahama, and eko contest a. Oni number bia ni ensa nkofolo no. Na wan kasa why media person who follow no.
Oh sure.
To make match me policy issue ba ko wa kan wase.
Oh them say we need internal party election.
The internal idea ni okon ni Mahama, President Mahama, and eko contest a. Oni number bia ni ensa nkofolo no. Na wan kasa why media person who follow no.
Oh sure.
To make match me policy issue ba ko wa kan wase.
Oh them say we need internal party election.
The internal idea ni okon ngongo shia delegates no dem we. Koja bontia o kasama ewiase nyina etie ni die. Na ka wo kan sem bia ze betumi aka say yes. Kakra mati afa ne hu die. Some of the show anybody who kra beka say a key so concert party for na.
Aden.
Oh, stage ni bi o me hu no so no. Initially a man for the video ni bem na me ni say ono no way. So ante say do be am so no so e kasa.
Na what den? What den?
Oh, doki kan you know me cry.
What mean repeating?
Me level as a. Now one kasa why media person who follow no.
Oh sure.
To make match me policy issue ba ko wa kan wase.
Oh them say we need internal party election.
The internal idea ni okon ngongo shia delegates no dem we.
So sad, so funny, so funny. And your diagnosis sa statement bi sa ka policy ba kon de aba. Ka policy ba kon obeye. Anasa obeye assemblyman, obeye vice president, obeye minister, obeye deputy no, ka policy ba kon de aba no. Enne ya diffuse sa ade no. Enne ya me hu say politically incorrect. So Mr. Yes, no, your former MP or Cotton Ghana's parliament, then he should know right. He should know what is called policy. At least, only me crown. The entire or lose elections as an MP, no, we don't know. But only me crown. Na sabi what born crown. Now Mr. Aye ought to know, say, you got a policy. And your party biya and you be elections party biya make public declaration. And that declaration can be, and as it's always a policy and aims are part in the edeba, and as a candidate be the edeba. Until Nessa or Sare Ekobusa Mampany Mahama say, Candia Odeba, and the work Odiaba Penna, na so wrong. But unum.
They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes.
What? Some people always think they are sensible. When they speak, they are right. When you speak, you are wrong.
They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes. They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes. They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes.
We don't have to borrow money from anywhere. Just toll the various sections of the road and we'll raise the money to do the roads in Ghana.
They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes.
We don't have to borrow money from anywhere. Just toll the various sections of the road and we'll raise the money to do the roads in Ghana.
They think they are sensible and they keep on making mistakes.
We don't have to borrow money from anywhere. Just toll the various sections of the road and we'll raise the money to do the roads in Ghana.
Yeah, the city has appreciated in value. When we came in, it was running. Essentially, we have arrested it. and the IGP has the key. She's locked it up. We've arrested it. Yeah, the city has appreciated in value. When we came in, it was running. Essentially, we have arrested it. and the IGP has the key. She's locked it up. We've arrested it. Yeah, the city has appreciated in value. When we came in, it was running. Essentially, we have arrested it. and the IGP has the key. She's locked it up.
Atiefo ne hefo adehye papa bi makramo final voice and ne out ye a final. Search me on YouTube and subscribe to the channel called Final Voice TV or Meet Charles Show. Messai eno wadin kita ho bio.